Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Okay, I'm just making sure I am live. It's always interesting with Facebook. So today we're going to talk about pricing. Pricing is kind of a huge thing with people, I have found. It's kind of a tricky thing because we kind of want to honor our own selves and our lives and all the effort we put in and the kind of transformation we provide. And we also want to honor our clients at the same time. So it can be a little difficult to figure out exactly. Okay, I am live, obviously, since I can hear myself. Um, all right. So let's talk about pricing. First of all, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the mistakes that people make. There's four basic mistakes that people make when they're pricing themselves as a healer, as a coach, as a practitioner, or some kind of holistic and transformational leader. And partially, I think these mistakes show up. I'm seeing some thumbs. Thank you. I think these mistakes show up because so much of what we do and what we're about is service. And so it's actually really difficult for us to be in this place of service, to be in this place of wanting to help and light up the world, and also be in a place of making it okay for us to receive powerfully so that we can be sustained and our business can be sustained. Because that's the other thing I'm going to talk about is when we're talking about fees, it's not just about you. You're not just paying yourself, you're sustaining your business. You're actually doing what you need to do so that you can keep going for the long haul and you can keep serving as many people as possible. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elsa Camtier. I work with soulful entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, holistic practitioners, transformational coaches, spiritual leaders, these kinds of people. And who feel, most of my clients feel frustrated, they feel overwhelmed, they feel invisible, especially online. And I help them find their own unique, aligned, simple path towards more clients, more impact, more money, and all of that with a lot more ease and joy. Because if we don't love what we do, then what the hell's the point? It's not success. If you don't love it, it's not success. Um, so if that's you, say hi to me. By the way, I'm in Colorado and we are having like this major heat wave. And of course, our air conditioning decided to go out in the last couple days, and no one can come and fix it because everyone's in the same situation. Thankfully, it's morning here, so I'm not sweating yet, but I will be later in the day. Let me know where you're from. Well, how's the weather in your neck of the woods? And say hi to me. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching it later, doesn't matter. I always love to see who's watching this. And if you have any questions at any point, put them in the comments. At the end of this training, I will go and look at the comments and see how I can respond and help you and support you. And also, I will go back later. I always go back later and look at the comments. So if you have a question, you're watching this later, feel free to put it in. And if at any point there's something in this training, you're like, oh my God, this is me. I need support with this, then I want you to reach out to me. You and I will sit down for half an hour, for an hour, and we'll look at your pricing structure. We'll look at your business. We'll look at what you need to do, what needs to shift, what's the small things you can start doing today to up level your business and to bring in more ease, more joy, and more money. All right, guys, let's get started. Mistakes. Let's start with the mistakes. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time with this because I really want to talk a lot about how to price yourself in a way that's really powerful. Hey, Sharon. Who else is here? Mariah is here. Yeah, greeting from sunny England. You know, we were having a conversation. She was telling me that there's really not that much AC in England. And just so you know, like right after our conversation, my AC went out. So I'm with you. I'm feeling you. I'm experiencing some of what people in Europe experience when it gets really, really hot over there. Um, all right, let's talk about mistakes. The first mistakes I see with spiritual entrepreneurs, service based entrepreneurs, is they price themselves per hour or per package and essentially exchange their time for money rather than looking at the actual transformation they provide. And what happens with that is obviously you're one person and you have so many hours in the day and in the week, and that includes all the other things you have to do as an entrepreneur. There's only so many people you can work with, and so when you price per hour and essentially exchange your time for money, you will get to a point where you're burned out and you will cap your income. It's very difficult to scale or to make a really great living without being totally overwhelmed. I have a client of mine who is a therapist, and he sees something like 35 people a week to act, and he's like bam 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 bam, like he's literally like he's got these 15-minute sessions, he's got 10 minutes, and then he's got the next one, and he does that, like 5-6 hours in a row. Essentially he might take an hour lunch in there. I would die. Like I would be dead at the end of the day if I did that for multiple days in a week, especially doing everything else, like doing these lives and preparing trainings and connecting with people outside of the sessions and all of that. Like it's just really difficult to make a really great living without being totally burned out if you're charging per session. Um, Mistake number two, you price, and this is especially true with newer practitioners, is you price based on your level of confidence. So when we get started, oftentimes, especially if we're pivoting and we're starting in a different area, we don't feel super confident with it yet because we haven't worked a ton with it. And so I see a lot of people at first pricing themselves based on on that confidence, thinking as they get more confident, they will raise their prices. And that makes total common sense. What I will tell you is that every successful person I know has done it the other way around. They have priced themselves based on the transformation they offer, and we're going to talk about that in a bit, regardless of their level of experience, and then they have grown into their confidence. So when you price yourself maybe slightly above what you're comfortable with, and you're kind of stretching yourself a little bit with your pricing, then you literally have to ask yourself, who do I need to become to essentially command these prices, to step up and to deserve these prices? And actually higher fees force you as the practitioner, as the healer, as the coach, as the leader, to essentially step in your next level self. Most of us do it the other way around. We wait to feel like our next level self to price higher or at that level. And what I'm saying to you is actually own your gift, claim your authority, claim that you are here for a purpose and you have something extremely valuable to share, and price yourself accordingly, and then step into who you need to be, the degree to which you need to serve, to actually be the practitioner who commands, who deserves, who claims these prices and gets their client results. So that's mistake number two, is price based on your confidence. Mistake number three is you price based on what your clients can afford or what you think your clients can afford. And I see that all the time. Oh, people in my area won't pay that much, or no one in my network will pay that much, or no one right now has any money. And by the way, I'm right there with you. This is one of my issues as well. I've worked in my therapy business on a sliding scale, and I will tell you what I found. What I have found and what all my clients have found is that you'll get a ton of people who always say they can afford less than they can, and then they don't show up. What that means is that it builds resentment. It builds resentment for yourself because you're underpricing, you're creating discounts, you're doing amazing work for less than you know this person should pay, and on top of that, they're not quite getting the results. There's also something there about integrity where it becomes a little difficult when everybody is getting the same thing, but everybody's paying something different for it. That doesn't seem to be super fair. Because the results you're providing, your time, your energy, your magic is the same, but based on different circumstance, people are paying differently, and that starts to build either resentment in them when they know that that's happening, or the exchange, the flow of energy is off. There's something off balance about it. And then the other thing I will say is this: there's always going to be people who can afford your work, but for whatever reason, they're not in a place of valuing it, and they will not want to pay it. And then you're going to have the other side, which is people who, for them, that's a stretch, but they really see the value, they know they need you, and they're going to figure out how to pay for your work. And I will tell you that these clients, the ones who figure out how to pay for your work, they're going to show up. They're going to do the work. They're going to get the results. They're going to be committed. They're going to refer other people. Like, these are actually the kind of clients you want. You don't want your services to be easily available, or you will create you'll create something where you're not attracting the right kind of clients that you're going to love working with. So that's mistake number 3, I think. And then mistake number 4 is you price based on what others are pricing. You price based on the competition. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I talk about how to price yourself. But essentially, when you price yourself based on the competition, there's a lot of things that go wrong. One is you start building comparisons within yourself. You start comparing yourself to everybody else. What are they doing? What are they pricing? How many people do they have? Are they prettier? Do they have more certifications? Like, it starts building this weird thing internally for us, where rather than owning our own authority, rather than claiming our magic, claiming our brilliance, claiming our gifts, we're actually putting our focus on other people and other people's businesses rather than staying with ourselves, staying with our clients, staying with our own gifts. And it builds this weird, unhealthy competition a little bit. And usually when we're comparing and we're pricing based on what others are doing, it's actually a race to the bottom, because there's always going to be someone, either because they live somewhere where their lifestyle is a lot cheaper or what, but there's always going to be someone who is priced less than you. And then it's always going to make you feel like you're too expensive or you're inadequate in some ways. So, and the thing too with comparing is what somebody else's charges has nothing to do with you. It doesn't take into consideration your unique presence, your flavor, the quality of your gifts, your own unique magic, and the tangibility of your pricing is going to have to also some to do with where you live. Obviously, if you live in a very expensive area where for you to maintain yourself is a lot more money than somewhere else, then maybe your prices might have to be more, partially for that. So that's pricing. Mistake number 4 is you compare yourself and you price based on other people. All right, so let's talk about the right way to price yourself that honors you, honors your gifts, honors your life or the life you want to build and have, honors your business and sets you up for success long term, and also honors your clients. So I've touched on this, and this is really common. You've probably heard this before. You want to price based on the lifetime value of the transformation you provide. You don't want to price based on your worth, based on your confidence, based on your certification, based on where you're coming from, how old you are. Like, none of these things matter. You want to price based on the lifetime value, not just the value, but the lifetime value of the transformation you provide. And the reason I say it this way is because oftentimes we don't realize. I work with someone who all she does is deal with long-term trauma. Actually, I work with a couple people who do that. And when we start looking at the lifetime value of this, when you help somebody heal the trauma that has haunted them their whole life, how does that shift them? Well, it shifts them in every way. It shifts them everywhere. Their relationships are different. They suddenly can get the raise they've been wanting at work, or actually leave the job they hate and go out and do something different. whatever physical symptoms and pain they were getting because they were so tight and stressed out, that's released. They get to enjoy their lives. They get to have a life. I mean, it's all over the place. It's eternal. There's a major transformation for themselves, but their whole lives are transformed financially, emotionally, socially, everywhere, physically, spiritually. When you start looking at how what you do transform people and what it provides them over the course of their lives, then suddenly charging $100 an hour doesn't make sense anymore, or $60 an hour. I have someone who charges $60 an hour and does amazing healing work, and it's like, what? So you want to let go of all the other things you're using to price yourself, like the competition, like how old you are, like your certifications, like any of this stuff, like how bubbly you are on live videos or anything you think matters, because none of it really matters. The only thing that matters is what your people will get, how they will be transformed from working with you, and how their network, their kids will be transformed, their spouse will be transformed, the way they're going to show up at work will be transformed, all of that. So that's number one, is you want to really claim that more than likely your gift is actually priceless. What you provide is actually priceless. And you want to really own that and claim that, because when you sell it to people, you want that energy to come through. Regardless of what price you give them, you want them to feel like that price is a deal for what they're going to get. And if you feel like, but Ilsa, I'm not doing something that transforms lives, and you and I need to talk, because either you're not actually looking at it from the right perspective, or maybe you're not fixing a real problem that your client has in a way that's tangible enough that it's going to make it easy for you to sell it. So if that's you, put #brainstorm in the comment and let's talk about what needs to shift either in your own perception or what needs to shift in your work itself. Like what, either you need to change clients, you need to change your results slightly so that you have something more tangible, which will be easier to ask to be paid well for and easier to sell. Okay, so number 2, price yourself. This is the way to price yourself for long-term success. Number 2, price yourself in a way to attract highly committed clients who are going to show up, who are going to be open, and who are going to be receptive and take responsibility for the results they get and for doing the work. And we talked about this a little bit just previously, but there is some truth to the fact that if your prices are too low, you will attract people who are always looking for bargains and are not willing to do the work. And I will tell you that I'm guilty of that as well, like both as a practitioner, but also as a consumer. If I buy something and it's $97, oftentimes I put it in like something in my email to remind myself to get to it. And half the time I forget. I have a ton of stuff that I bought at a relatively low price that I haven't really looked at and done much with. Now, if I buy something that's a lot more money, then I'm definitely going to be a lot more committed because it was more of an investment. And as a practitioner, there's a real joy with working with people who are going to do the work, are not going to cancel their sessions whenever. They're going to show up ready. They're going to have done the homework in between sessions. They're going to be implementing what you ask them or show them. They're going to be getting results because they're energetically as well as tangibly and physically committed to the work. So that's number 2, is you want to price yourself in a way that's going to attract people who are truly ready to change and truly ready to do the work and truly ready to be open and receptive to change. 3, you want to price yourself at a level that takes into consideration everything else you do. So, and everything you invest in. So running a business is a lot more than just delivering our services. It takes a lot more time, a lot more money than just that. I look at myself and I look at most of my clients. I'm teaching my clients how to do organic marketing, how to follow up with people, how to create content that's going to attract their ideal clients. All of that takes time. I think of my client, they're spending time putting content together that is valuable. They're spending time really figuring out what problem they're solving, what the language of their clients are. They're spending time reaching out to people and commenting with people who are commenting to them. They're spending time doing free sessions to get people to know them and meet them and get a taste of their work. They're doing free events, some of them. Like, there's a lot that it takes to run a successful business, especially online. That's true also in regular life, but especially online. And we have to account for all of that in our pricing. You have to account for the marketing, for the coaching that you're going to get, for the healing work that you get to be able to serve your clients powerfully. You want to account for the CEUs, your continuing eds, if you do that. You want to account for the trainings that you're going to get. You want to account for all your time you spend to invite people and to get to know people to work with you. All of that is part of your work. If you don't include that in how, like, I think of lawyers, for example. Like, when a lawyer charges you $500 or $600 an hour, he charges you that price because he's got this huge ad in the yellow pages that he's got to pay for. He's charging you that price because he's going to a bunch of networking meetings to meet people and make connection. He's charging you that price because he worked for 80 hours a week for basically nothing for 2 years or for a year as an intern. A lawyer has no problem accounting for everything they do to maintain the business. That $600 an hour is not just there to meet with you or to write up a contract. It's there because it includes everything this person has to do to actually serve you powerfully. So I'm inviting you, just because you're a spiritual leader, just because you're a holistic practitioner or a transformational coach or an energy healer, doesn't make that any less true for you. Look at what it takes for you to be the powerful person, healer, leader, coach that you are, and to get clients, to attract and meet people, and include that in your pricing. If you don't, I guarantee you that you will be burned out, and in the end, your business will not be sustainable. And that benefits certainly not you, but it actually benefits no one either. Because at some point, you'll just stop doing the marketing. You'll just stop doing the thing, and no one will know that you're there. And the people who really need you, they won't be able to find you. So you want to account for everything it takes for your business when you price yourself. Number 4, price yourself at a level that also affords you a good life. I like to say, because I call the people I work with lighthouses, I say that they light up the world, that they shine their light towards the darkness and invite people who are stuck or lost to find their way with more ease. And so I will sometimes say, you can't shine your light if you can't pay your light bill. And it's a little, out there, but there's some truth to that. If you're struggling, how are you going to pay your rent at the end of the month? If you're struggling to figure out how you're going to pay your coach, if you're struggling to figure out how you're going to pay for college for your kids, then you cannot show up powerfully when you work with people. You cannot show up powerfully in your marketing. So this isn't, I'm not one of these people who says, oh, you're going to live in a yacht. No, you're going to live however you feel feels good to you. But I do feel that it's important for you to look at, what is it going to take for me to live well in my current circumstance, and to keep that in mind when you're pricing yourself. Keep in mind everything you do. Keep in mind your time, and keep in mind the lifestyle you want to have, including, self-care and time off for your kids and all of that. Pricing, You are the common denominator of your business. If you're not okay, your clients will not be okay. Your business will not be okay. So we have a duty to ourselves and to our clients to make sure that we're okay and we're pricing ourselves in a way that honors us as well. Um, and this is not so much about pricing, but organizing. You want to price and organize your work so that people are committed to you and to the process for a long term. So, what that does, like essentially, that's the difference between doing one off sessions or packages of 3 or 5 sessions compared to offering a package. And I'm going to go in in 5 minutes, I'm going to go into what is a package. But essentially, when you're offering a package, people are going to work with you for a certain amount of time. And the truth is, we all know as transformational leaders that it actually takes time for people to not only get what we're saying, transform, but also implement that in their lives and sustain that in their lives. So I always, when you're talking about pricing, when you're talking about organizing your work, organize it in such a way that people are committing. When they start working with you, they're committing to work with you for a certain amount of time. That's going to allow them the time they actually need to really get the transformation. Because what you don't want is you don't want people doing 3, 4 sessions with you and saying, oh, I worked with her and it didn't work. Because the truth is, they don't know that it didn't work. They didn't give themselves enough of an opportunity to make sure or to see if it worked. And most of the time, it would have worked, but they gave up too soon. So you want to offer them the opportunity in a way that makes sense, in a way that's packaged well, for them to work with you long term and actually really get the transformation, really get the support, really get the accountability they need to have the real change and the real results they want, and to sustain it and really build it in, anchor it in their life. And then the other reason you want to do that is because it's a lot nicer for you. When somebody works with you, they're either going to pay you per month, or they're going to pay you, 3 payments, or they're going to pay you in one fell swoop, but you know that you can relax. You know that that slot in your calendar is filled for the next 6 months, for the next 5 months, for the next 4 months, for the next year, depending how you work. And there's something really amazing about that. What that means is you're not continuously trying to get new clients because you're worried that this client is going to not renew after the 3 sessions. You actually can get to relax and really serve people in that way. And when you're relaxed and when you're in trust and when you're in flow, then your ability to work and deliver amazing value just goes way, just expands significantly. So those are my 6 things. You want to price based on transformation. You want to make sure that your pricing is going to attract committed, ready to change, ready to do the work, ready to take responsibility types of clients. You want to make sure that your pricing takes into consideration everything you do, all your marketing, all your content creation, all the work you do in between sessions in terms of following up and building connection with people. The investment you're making in your own trainings, in your own coaching, in your own healing, so that you can provide amazing service. You want to make sure that your price includes all of that. You want to make sure that your price includes you and your lifestyle. You want to make sure I'm not saying go build an outrageous lifestyle, but build a lifestyle where you don't have to worry about paying the bills. Because if you're worried about paying the bills, you cannot serve powerfully your people. Of that, I am absolutely sure. Then you want to forget the competition as well. Like, that's another thing. Forget the competition and price yourself based on you. When we talk about competition and pricing, the truth is your prices are a sacred covenant. They're a sacred exchange between your own sovereign soul, your gifts, and your clients. And one could say maybe God, that which the spirit that gave you these gifts, that gave you the desire to serve in the first place. Your competition has no place in that. What you do has nothing to do with them, and your pricing should have nothing to do with them. Your pricing is between you, your soul, your gifts, your divine creator, and your client. And that's all that matters. Nothing else and no one else matters. And then you want to make sure that you price and organize your work in a way that actually people are going to work with you long term, which will allow them to have the transformation they want and will also allow you to have the ease, the reliability, the dependability, and be able to relax and really serve and not always be chasing clients or worried about the next client. Yep. Yeah. Sharon says just had that yesterday. Client was a joy to work with and it felt great helping them. Absolutely. We love what we do. And Maria say, love the sacred covenant. Absolutely. Your pricing are a sacred agreement, a sacred exchange with your soul, your client, your gifts, and the divine creator that gave you those gifts. All right, let's briefly talk numbers. And I'm going to do the math with you. And I've done this already because if I try to do the math with you live, we'd be here for 3 hours. So I'm going to pick $100,000. I'm speaking in US dollars because that's my currency. And I'm going to pick $100,000 as an example. Why am I picking this number? Because it's cliche, because a lot of people want to get to it, because it's actually a pretty fair compensation for professional service. It's kind of is like a fair amount to make to have a decent life in most metropolitan area around the world. And I'm also picking this because it's going to make it easier for me. It's going to be an easy number for me to do the math for you. All that being said, you want to actually work the numbers in a way that makes sense for you, right? Like this is just an example. Okay, so when you account, so I'm going to mostly talk about healers, holistic practitioners, coaches, spiritual leaders, meditation teachers, yoga teachers. When I work with them, and therapists, because I'm a therapist, so I also know that. But when I work with them and I account for having a life, time for self-care, time to refuel their energy, and time to do everything else it takes in a business, as we've discussed, the marketing, all of that, the self-growth. Most of my clients really cannot work or do more than 6 to 15 client hours a week. And some of you are going to say 15 client hours a week. Forget that. I would die if I did that. I think 15 is really far out over there. It's actually very difficult to have time for everything else in a business. And 6 for me is actually a pretty amazing number. And there's plenty of space with 6. So if you have an emergency with a client, you can hop on a call with them. Like your schedule's not full. With 6, it gives you space to do other things and to get creative and spontaneous. So we're gonna go with these numbers, 6 to 15. If you charge $100 an hour, I'm taking that number again because it's a pretty easy number, and it's actually a somewhat realistic number a lot of healers and coaches charge. But if you charge an average of $100 an hour to work with a client, to make $100,000 a year, you're going to have to work with 1,000 people. Now, some of those people are going to be the same ones, right? If you're working with people regularly. But that's 1,000 people. That's 1,000 sessions. That's essentially 20 sessions a week. And that is if you take essentially no vacation time. So that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, and that's a lot of worry of having to continually get a new client in your process in case somebody drops off. Now, let's do the math with a program. So let me talk about what a program is. The difference between a package or per session in a program is when you work in a program, like I said, you work with someone over a long period of time. I don't recommend anything less than 3 months. I think it actually takes a minimum of 3 months for people to actually really start seeing results and anchoring in the result. This is not just about seeing something. You can have somebody have an amazing result in one session, but then they've got to live that result. They've got to anchor it in. They've got to start implementing that result in their lives, with their families, with their friends, at their jobs, with the food they eat, with their exercise, with their spiritual lives. Like, 3 months is actually a pretty small time to change your entire life and your habit and how you show up in life. So I recommend a minimum of 3 months. I like 6 months. I like 9 months. I have clients who work with people a whole year, and that's what they do. They essentially say, hey, the first 6 months, we're really doing the work. The next 6 months, I'm here to essentially support you and make sure the changes is anchored in and be available if you need me. And that's essentially what they do, and they do nothing else. So a program is working with someone over a long term. What a program does also, which is slightly different, is it tends to have a specific result in mind. So when you're working one-on-one, oftentimes you're going to sell Reiki, you're going to sell life coaching, you're going to sell therapy, and your client comes in with whatever it is that or you're going to sell a meditation class and teaching meditation. It's much more intangible, it's much more generalized of a result. With a program, you usually have a signature system. You have a clear path of what you take clients, what you teach them, and what you do with them. And then you have a clear result at the end. By the time you're done working with me at the end of this 6 months, you will have X, Y, Z. Your life will be transformed in A, B, C, D kind of ways. What that does is it also makes it a lot easier to sell, because our logical mind likes to know what it's going to get for their investments. And the thing with a program too is it doesn't automatically include client hours. A program can be done one-on-one, but it can be done in groups. And a program can include worksheets, guided videos or meditations audio. It can include a workbook. It can include anything you feel is going to be useful for your client to get to that result, which means it doesn't have to include only your time every week. That allows you space to also organize your schedule and make and have more space for more clients, because you're not relying only on your time to deliver the result. You're using a lot of other things to get your client to the result they want. And in some ways that allows them to have support and have things they can work with or play with in between sessions, which can be really valuable for people. So let's talk about a program. What do you need to make 100K a year? So if your program is $3,000, let's say you work with people for 6 months and you include a bunch of different things in there, and it's $3,000. If your program is $3,000, what you need is 33 people a year. That's essentially less than 3 new clients a month to fill and to have a really thriving business. Now let's raise that up a little bit. Let's say your program is $5,000. What you need, if your program is $5,000, is you need 20 people. 20 people a year to work with. Now we went from 1,000 when we're doing it per session to 33. Now we're at 20. That's essentially 2 new clients. That's less than 2 new clients a month. And then let's keep bringing it up. $7,500. I know someone who is a theta healer who works with executives who are experiencing burnout, stress, inflammation due to stress, insomnia, or essentially not sleeping, which is affecting their productivity at work. She charges $7,500 for 6 months. And her program includes one, like, healing sessions, but it includes recording, it includes journaling prompts. It includes like an entire thing that people can do in between the sessions to keep momentum alive. And she charges $7,500 and has no issues actually filling her schedule. So with $7,500, if that's your price, you need 13 people a year to make that 100K. That means you're talking about one new client a month, essentially. And then if you do a $10,000 program, then you need 10 people a year. That's less than one person a month. And I will tell you that I am in a program that costs more than $10,000 a year, has 100 women, 100 plus women in there. I think there's more than 100. And everyone paid that price. So you can definitely, if the transformation you provide is powerful, if your result is tangible, and if you have things in place in your business in terms of the right marketing strategy, the right sales strategy, you can absolutely, and this is a group program I'm talking about. This isn't even one-on-one. This person, I think, charges like 3 or 4 times that price to work with her one-on-one. You know, like somebody like Tony Robbins, I think like charges like $1 million to work with him. So obviously we're not Tony, but all I'm saying is that there's a lot of people out there who have very powerful, high level fees and will get clients. And the thing to keep in mind is this: it takes the same amount of energy, the same amount of effort to essentially sell someone into a 3-session package than it takes to sell them into a 3 months or 5 months, $3,000 or $5,000 package. You still have to do all the marketing online. You still have to do all the content and make sure that that content speaks to your clients and the messaging is right. You still have to get on a call with them. You still have to do the sales process. You have to do the same song and dance, regardless of what you're going to invite your people for. So if you're going to do all this work, then you might as well pick a price that's going to really honor you and honor the work you do and honor all your efforts and honor all your time, and pick a pricing structure that is actually going to create ease and flow and more joy and more spaciousness in your business so that you can serve more powerfully overall, including the people who don't buy from you. You know, when I look at what I do, I'm live almost every week, 2 or 3 times. I post, another 2 or 3 times a week outside of that. I do a lot of free sessions where I love to connect with people and talk about their business and give them tips and work through where they're stuck with them. Some of them will work with me, some of them won't. I still enjoy it. If I charge $100 a session every time I work with someone, I would have to see so many more people that I wouldn't be able to do all of those things. I wouldn't be able to show up and serve in the way I want to. Because for me, and this is the weird paradox. Yes, it's about money, but no, it's not about money. Like, I actually want to be able to serve people who can't afford these fees. That's part of what I'm doing right now. Like somebody who's just starting and they got no money for coaching, I'm hoping that with this video, with this training, I'm giving them something they can use, something that's going to be valuable and powerful for them. So we are serving at all levels, but we have to make sure that we can also be okay. When I say that session with me was so valuable. I loved chatting with you. It was equally enjoyable for me. And that's the thing too, is then there's no resentment. When you know that your bills are going to get paid at the end of the month, you know that you made a decent living for all the work you put out, then you're happy to get on a call with someone. You're happy to get on Messenger and chat back and forth and offer somebody some guidance. You're happy to do that because you know that you're okay. You know that regardless, abundance is coming to you. So that's essentially what I have. Make sure that you price yourself in a way that honors you, honors your gift, honors the lifetime transformation that you're offering, and honors the lifestyle that you deserve and desire to have. If not, you will burn out and your business will not be sustainable. And you will not only harm yourself, but you will harm everyone else you could be serving. So, if this has been helpful for you in any kind of way, if you see that pricing is tricky or your marketing is off or you're like, I need to clarify my program, my offer, then just put hashtag brainstorm in the comment or send me a message on Messenger and let's connect. Let's spend an hour chatting. We'll look at your business, we'll look at your gifts, we'll look at what you're trying to create and do, both for yourself and for your clients, and we'll come up with a plan together. There's no cost to you. You don't have to work with me or pay me after. So there's no commitment except you and I are going to get to connect, and I'm going to get to hear a little bit more about you and your business. And I'm going to have a good time, and so are you. That's my commitment to you, is you give me an hour of your life, and I will give you a lot more clarity and a lot more confidence and a path forward to that next level in your work. And I'm committed to doing that. So hashtag brainstorm in the comments or send me a message on Messenger if you'd rather stay private. And I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, put them in there. I'm going to try to see if there's any kind of actual questions. I don't see any questions. Sharon says, building in more freedom for myself and my business. Sorry guys, I just got kicked out. I hope I've come back. Anyways, I don't see any actual questions. So I hope this was helpful. I think I'm still here, but I'm not sure. That was a little weird. Anyways, thank you so much if you're still here, if you watched this all the way to the end, and have a wonderful rest of your week. All right, bye guys.